There are places people warn you about: abandoned hospitals, old prisons, forgotten schools. But nobody ever warns you about department stores. Maybe because they're supposed to be full of people. Maybe because the ones that aren't don't stay empty. I used to spend hours exploring abandoned places, factories, warehouses, old houses. I loved the silence, or maybe I loved convincing myself there was nothing hidden inside it, until I find the store. It sat at the edge of town, hidden behind overgrown trees. The parking lot was cracked, weeds growing through the asphalt. Shopping carts lay tipped over, rusted into place as if they'd been waiting for someone to return them. The giant sign above the building had almost completely fallen apart. Only one letter remained, an A. The front doors should have been locked. The power had clearly been gone for years. But as soon as I stepped onto the sidewalk, they welcomed me inside. I should have left instead. I smiled, because I thought I had found somewhere no one else had explored. The air inside was stale. It smelled like dust, old fabric, mold, and something sweet, far too sweet, like flowers left to rot in the summer heat. My flashlight swept across the entrance. Everything was still there: shopping baskets, checkout counters, displays, clothes hanging neatly on racks. Nothing had been stolen. Nothing looked disturbed. It was as if every customer had disappeared in the middle of shopping. Then I heard it. Music, soft, slow, cheerful, but somehow wrong. The melody dragged, every note stretching just a little too long, like an old cassette tape slowly dying. I told myself someone had forgotten to switch off a speaker years ago. That explanation made absolutely no sense, but it was better than admitting how uncomfortable I already felt. I wandered deeper into the store. Housewares, furniture, kitchen appliances, everything buried beneath years of dust. Everything. Except the footprints. Bare feet, small ones, pressed clearly into the dusty floor, fresh, leading toward the clothing department. I stared at them. Someone else had been here, recently. Without thinking, I followed. The clothing section appeared around the corner. Rows upon rows of mannequins stood beneath cracked ceiling lights. Women, men, children, all frozen with those blank plastic smiles. Their pale faces reflected my flashlight just enough to make them look almost alive. I laughed, not because anything was funny, because laughing made me feel less afraid. I walked between them, trying not to look directly into their eyes. When I reached the end of the aisle, something made me stop. I turned around. The woman in the red dress. She had been facing the checkout when I walked in. Now, she was facing me. I frowned. "No," I whispered. I hadn't heard myself say it. The word disappeared into the store without an echo. Maybe I'd remembered wrong. Maybe. So I kept walking. Then, I heard breathing. Slow, steady, close enough that I could feel it. I spun around. Nothing. Just mannequins. Watching, always watching. The breathing stopped. The music stopped. Silence crashed over the entire building. Then, one light came alive, far away. It illuminated another display. More mannequins. Far more than I'd seen before. Standing shoulder to shoulder, facing me. Another light flickered on, closer, then another and another. Each light revealed more of them, until every aisle I could see was completely full. There wasn't room for customers anymore, only mannequins. I backed away, then turned and ran. My flashlight bounced wildly. The aisle didn't make sense anymore. Furniture became toys. Toys became clothing. Clothing became camping supplies. Every turn brought me somewhere I had already seen, or somewhere impossible. The music returned, only this time, it wasn't coming from the speakers. It was humming. Hundreds of voices, all humming the same melody. I reached another clothing department. It was empty. Every mannequin gone. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. I bent over trying to catch my breath. That's when I noticed the mirrors. Dozens of them. I looked into the first. Only me. The second. Only me. The third. I froze. Standing behind me was a mannequin. I spun around. Nothing. Back to the mirror. Still there. I checked another mirror. Now, it stood beside me, its shoulder nearly touching mine. Another mirror. Closer. Another. Closer. Another. Its face was inches from mine. I screamed. The mirror exploded across the floor. I stared at the broken glass, then slowly looked up. The mannequin was standing exactly where its reflection had been, not moving. Its painted smile never changed. Its head slowly tilted. Just a little, like it was curious. I ran. Every aisle ended with more mannequins. Some sat perfectly still on couches. Some stood behind shelves. Some peeked around corners. None moved while I watched them, but every time I blinked, they were closer. I started counting. 1, 2, 3, blink. Closer. 1, 2, 3, blink. Closer. Soon they filled every aisle, every exit, every path. My eyes burned. I tried not to blink. Tears streamed down my face. Finally, I couldn't stop myself. I blinked, and one of them stood inches away. Its blue painted eyes stared directly into mine. Its smile looked wider. I shoved it. It didn't move. It felt like pushing against solid concrete. Then, something grabbed my wrist. Cold, hard, plastic. I ripped my arm free and ran. The front entrance finally appeared. Moonlight spilled through the glass doors. I slammed into them. Nothing. Again, nothing. The doors refused to open. Behind me, one scrape, then another, then dozens, then hundreds. I didn't turn around. I already knew. They weren't standing anymore. They were walking, slowly, patiently. Thousands of plastic feet dragging across the floor. I squeezed my eyes shut. I didn't know why. Maybe because I didn't want the last thing I ever saw to be them. Then, something rested gently on my shoulder. A hand, cold, smooth, plastic, right beside my ear. I heard breathing, not mine. When I finally opened my eyes, the store was empty. Morning sunlight poured through the broken windows. No music, no mannequins, no footprints, nothing. The door slided open without a sound. I never told anyone. Who would have believed me? Months passed. Eventually, the nightmare stopped. Last week, I drove back. The store was gone, completely demolished. Nothing remained except one empty field. I almost laughed. Maybe I'd imagined everything. Maybe grief, stress, fear. Maybe I'd finally lost my mind. Yesterday, I stopped at a brand new department store to buy towels. Everything looked normal. Bright lights, families shopping, children laughing. I finally convinced myself it had all been a nightmare. Until I walked past the clothing section. One mannequin turned its head, just enough for me to notice. And beneath the cheerful story music, I heard humming, the same melody, waiting patiently for me to come back. You felt it, didn't you? That moment where something changed. You almost heard it. Play it back. It's clearer the second time. You've been listening to Dead Air. If you enjoyed the episode, follow the show. And remember, listen closely. New episodes every week. Good night. You stayed. We knew you would. Don't turn around.